Heathrow, closure of transatlantic flights costing UK £23 million a day. While it's fantastic news that some double-vaccinated passengers will no longer need to quarantine from amber countries, ministers need to extend this policy to US and EU nationals if they want to kickstart the economic country. European countries that have supported their aviation sectors throughout the pandemic are seeing the fastest growth as they emerge from the pandemic. Passenger traffic from Heathrow to the US is down by around 80%, whereas in the EU, which has reopened unilaterally with the US, has seen traffic recover to only around 40% down. Getting Britain trading again with the rest of the world is critical to the government's plans for a global Britain post-Brexit. Heathrow passenger numbers are still nearly 90% down on pre-pandemic 2019 passenger numbers, and much lower than EU rivals. European countries that have supported their aviation sectors throughout the pandemic are seeing the fastest growth as they emerge from the pandemic. Both Schiphol and Frankfurt have surpassed their 2019 cargo volumes, growing by 14% and 9% respectively compared to 2019, whereas cargo tonnage at Heathrow, the UK's biggest port, is still down 16%. Almost all air cargo is carried in the hold of passenger planes, and UK travel restrictions are limiting trade compared to our EU rivals. The closure of Britain's transatlantic links is costing the UK economy at least £23 million a day. Passenger traffic from Heathrow to the US is down by around 80%, whereas in the EU, which has reopened unilaterally with the US, has seen traffic recover to only around 40% down. Britain's long-held competitive advantage on transatlantic trade is at risk if borders remain closed. Getting Britain trading again with the rest of the world is critical to the government's plans for a global Britain post-Brexit. Heathrow alone has the potential to facilitate a £204 billion trade bonanza benefiting British businesses in every corner of the country, creating opportunities for the entire aviation sector and strengthening the UK's trade network, but only if ministers move to reopen trade as soon as possible. The announcement that double-vaccinated UK residents will no longer be required to quarantine when returning from amber list countries from the 19th July is a great step forward. However, to kickstart Britain's economic recovery, the government must reopen travel to fully vaccinated people from more countries, particularly our key trading partners like the US. British Airways, Virgin Atlantic and Heathrow are working together to demonstrate that 100% vaccination status can be carried out at check-in, and there is no reason why government should not approve this for passengers from the US and EU from the 31st of July. Heathrow CEO, John Holland-Case said, "While it's fantastic news that some double-vaccinated passengers will no longer need to quarantine from amber countries, ministers need to extend this policy to US and EU nationals if they want to kickstart the economic country. These changes will be critical for exporters who are losing out to EU rivals and families who have been separated from loved ones. We have all the tools to safely restart international travel, and now is the time for global Britain to take off." Traffic summary: June 2021 terminal passengers 000s June 2021 change Jan to June 2021 change July 2020 to June 2021 change market UK 146 108.4 468 to 51.0 973 to 72.0 EU 355 134.3 1231 74.8 4391 77.1 non-EU Europe 75 191.2 309 to 72.5 968 to 76.1 Africa 62 590.5 360 to 55.5 699 to 73.0 North America 141 203.4 472 to 85.8 1013 92.4 Latin America 17 186.953 to 83.31, 165 to 83.8, Middle East 88.1, 101.9, 429 to 75.2, 1001, 164, 80.3, Asia/Pacific 63.9, 525 to 77.0, 1001, 152, 85.7, total 957, 173.1, 3848, 75.1, 10,525, 81.7, air transport movement June 2021 change, Jan to June 2021 change, July 2020 to June 2021 change, market UK 1,585, 152.9, 5,595, 41.2, 11,237, 63.6, EU 4,639, 152.1, 16,697, 64.0, 52,608, 65.3 on EU. Europe 882, 113.6, 3,790, 63.7, 10,281, 67.9, Africa 579, 115.2, 3,430, 17.5, 6,732, 42.6, North America 2,489, 46.7, 13,790, 37.3, 26,496, 58.9, Latin America 207, 29.4, 768 to 54.0, 2060, 55.7, Middle East 1,240, 33.5, 6,887, 26.5, 14,155, 43.7, Asia/Pacific 1,639, 0.8, 10,278, 25.7, 21,051, 43.8, total 13,255, 84.0, 61,235, 47.81, 144,620, 59.6, cargo metric tons, June 2021 change, Jan to June 2021 change, July 2020 to June 2021 change, market UK 24, 224.51, 106 to 48.61, 144 to 71.7, EU 10,310, 96.4, 60,838, 89.51, 104,834, 32.5, non-EU. Europe 5553 29.8 33,908 96.3 62,694 36.2 Africa 5369 10.9 40,627 30.3 78,622 3.7 North America 37,671 35.0 224,369 11.1 409,024 13.9 Latin America 2,478 0.28 585 42.6 27,401 34.0 Middle East 18,959 0.1 110,275 8.1 219,879 6.7 Asia/Pacific 30,694 22.21 186,306 23.8 355,501 5.9 Total 111,059 25.0 665,015 20.9 1,258,099 5.5